there, and welcome to probably one of my favorite discussions among the early capitalists, one on a gentleman named Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie, like so many early capitalists, grows up poor. He had to quit school when he was like 11 years old to help support his family. And Carnegie eventually finds a job working at the Pennsylvania Railroad for a man named Tom Scott. And eventually, Carnegie's given a really important task: to build a railroad bridge across the Mississippi River. Whoever could do this first was going to control trade and shipping of goods westward in the United States, and that meant a fortune. And Carnegie struggled with the project for years. How do you build this bridge? And eventually Carnegie settles on steel as the way to do it. The problem? At this point in time, steel was incredibly expensive to manufacture. Carnegie eventually meets a man named Henry Bessemer, an Englishman who had devised a process to mass produce steel. Carnegie buys what becomes known as the Bessemer process, and from that process emerges the great steel fortune of Andrew Carnegie. Based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Carnegie builds massively large, incredibly efficient steel mills. Andrew Carnegie fuels the Industrial Revolution in the United States. The building of bridges, skyscrapers, all of that is predicated on the use of steel. And Carnegie amasses an incredible fortune, and then has kind of almost an epiphanous moment with all this money. What do you do with it? What's the purpose of great wealth? And Carnegie buys into a philosophy called the gospel of wealth that basically says you have an obligation. You were ruthless in business, and Carnegie could be. And you use that to build these vast fortunes. But your fortune exists for the benefit of all mankind. And so Carnegie would spend the rest of his life, he eventually sells Carnegie Steel. And when he sold it, it gave him, at the time, the single biggest private fortune of any human being in the United States. And Carnegie used that fortune to fund libraries, museums, schools, all sorts of philanthropies throughout the United States. And it's kind of a personal one for me. I spent much of my young life going to the Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh. I studied at the Carnegie Library. My brother went to Carnegie Mellon University, and I grew up right next to the town of Carnegie, Pennsylvania. The impact of this great capitalist, who again, in this case, uses his fortune for the benefit of all mankind, makes him one of the great stories among the early capitalists. Thanks so much for watching.